Before George Lucas created cinema's most beloved space opera, A New Hope was rejected by every major studio as too childish and unmarketable. The cast has finally revealed secrets that will transform your understanding of how this unlikely masterpiece conquered the galaxy and changed filmmaking forever. The film that nearly never left Tatooine. What most fans don't realize is that Star Wars was rejected by United Artists, Universal, and every other major studio before 20th Century Fox reluctantly agreed to finance what executives considered an expensive children's movie with no commercial potential. Hollywood couldn't understand Lucas's vision of combining science fiction with fairy tale mythology and samurai philosophy. Mark Hamill revealed years later that even the cast questioned the project's viability during production. We were making this weird space adventure with Muppets and robots, while every other successful film was gritty and realistic like The Godfather or Taxi Driver. Nobody understood how audiences would accept heroes and villains in a galaxy far, far away. The film's earnest approach to heroism clashed with 1970s cinematic cynicism. Harrison Ford disclosed that the dialogue felt impossible to deliver convincingly. George wrote this very formal, mythological language that sounded ridiculous when spoken by modern actors. We had to find ways to make lines like, "I find your lack of faith disturbing," feel natural rather than silly. The challenge was making fantasy dialogue feel authentic and emotionally compelling. Carrie Fisher noted how the ambitious scope worried everyone involved. We were building entire worlds from scratch. Cultures, languages, technologies, philosophies. The budget and creative demands were staggering, and nobody was certain audiences would invest in something so completely removed from recognizable reality. The film's success seemed impossible given its unprecedented creative ambitions. Tatooine's desert that became a galaxy. The desert planet. Tatooine wasn't just a location. It was George Lucas's solution to creating an alien world on a minimal budget that would establish the visual language for the entire Star Wars universe. What the cast revealed about filming in Tunisia shows how they created galactic civilization from North African landscapes and practical ingenuity. Mark Hamill described the psychological impact of filming in the Sahara Desert. The heat, the isolation, the vast emptiness. It genuinely felt like being on an alien planet. You didn't have to imagine Luke's desire to escape. You were experiencing the same desperation to leave this desolate place. The authentic discomfort enhanced the actors' understanding of their characters' motivations. The decision to film in real desert locations rather than studio sets was crucial to the film's believable otherworldliness. George wanted audiences to feel the reality of these alien environments, revealed Anthony Daniels, who played C-3PO. The sand, wind, and sun were genuinely challenging, which made our performances more authentic than any controlled studio environment could provide. Alec Guinness noted how the desert setting influenced the film's mythological tone. The vast, empty landscape felt biblical and timeless. It was the perfect environment for a story about destiny, spiritual awakening, and the eternal struggle between good and evil. The location became integral to the film's spiritual and mythological themes rather than mere exotic backdrop. The Force that nobody understood. The concept of the Force was so abstract that even the cast struggled to understand what they were supposed to be portraying. But what Alec Guinness revealed about developing Obi-Wan's mystical philosophy shows how they created cinema's most influential spiritual system through careful performance and mythological research. Guinness disclosed his preparation for explaining the Force to audiences. George described this energy field that connected all living things, but I had to find a way to make that concept feel real and accessible rather than silly mysticism. I studied various religious and philosophical traditions to find common elements that audiences could recognize and accept. His performance grounded fantasy concepts in recognizable spiritual language. Mark Hamill revealed how the Force concept affected his character development. Luke's journey from skeptic to believer had to feel authentic rather than convenient. I had to understand how someone raised in a practical, technological society would gradually accept spiritual concepts that seemed impossible. Darth Vader's voice, that created an icon. James Earl Jones's voice performance as Darth Vader wasn't the original plan. David Prowse, who wore the costume, was supposed to provide the voice until his British accent clashed with Vader's imposing presence. What Jones revealed about creating the galaxy's most recognizable villain shows how audio performance became as crucial as visual design. Jones disclosed his approach to voicing ultimate evil. George wanted Vader to sound like a fallen angel, someone who had once been noble but was now completely corrupted. The voice had to convey intelligence, power, and tragedy without ever becoming sympathetic or weak. The performance balanced menace with underlying humanity that hinted at Anakin's buried soul. The mechanical breathing wasn't just atmospheric effect. It became integral to Vader's vocal rhythm and psychological presence. "I had to time my dialogue delivery around that breathing apparatus," Jones explained. The mechanical sounds made Vader seem more machine than man, which supported his character as someone who had abandoned his humanity for power. Mark Hamill noted how Jones's voice performance affected other actors. Even though James wasn't physically present during filming, his voice work in post-production completely transformed how we understood Vader's character. The voice made him genuinely terrifying in ways that the costume alone couldn't achieve. The audio performance became as iconic as the visual design. Princess Leia's revolutionary femininity. Carrie Fisher's portrayal of Princess Leia wasn't just another damsel in distress. She was George Lucas's deliberate challenge to traditional gender roles in adventure films. What Fisher revealed about developing this character shows how Leia became a template for strong female characters while maintaining feminine qualities that appealed to diverse audiences. Fisher disclosed her interpretation of Leia's unique combination of authority and vulnerability. Leia is a princess, but she's also a military leader and political revolutionary. I had to find ways to make her commanding presence feel natural rather than forced or unrealistic. The character balanced traditional feminine appeal with genuine leadership capabilities and combat effectiveness. The famous metal bikini scene in later films overshadowed Leia's revolutionary role in A New Hope as a competent leader who saves the male heroes as often as they save her. Leia rescues Luke and Han multiple times throughout the film, Fisher noted. She's not waiting to be saved. She's actively fighting for the rebellion's survival and her people's freedom. The character's romantic relationships never diminished her political or military authority. George wrote Leia as someone whose personal feelings enhance rather than compromise her leadership abilities, revealed Fisher. Her love for Han makes her more human, not less effective as a leader. The cantina scene that built a universe. The Mos Eisley cantina sequence wasn't just colorful background. It was George Lucas's masterclass in world-building that established the diversity and complexity of the Star Wars galaxy through practical creature effects and carefully orchestrated alien behavior. What the cast revealed about filming this iconic scene shows how they created galactic civilization in a single location. The cantina creatures were operated by dozens of performers who had to develop individual alien personalities and behaviors. Each creature had its own backstory and motivation, revealed Anthony Daniels. George wanted the cantina to feel like a real place where different species interacted naturally rather than just a collection of rubber monsters for visual effect. Mark Hamill disclosed how the scene established Luke's naivety about galactic society. The cantina represents Luke's first encounter with the wider galaxy's diversity and danger. My reactions had to show someone completely overwhelmed by alien cultures and criminal elements he'd never imagined. The sequence became crucial character development disguised as spectacular world building. The famous bar fight and Han's confrontation with Greedo weren't just action beats, they established the moral ambiguity of the galaxy's inhabitants. Not everyone is clearly good or evil, noted Harrison Ford. The cantina shows that survival often requires compromising idealistic principles. which becomes important for Han's character development throughout the trilogy. The Death Star's ability to destroy entire planets wasn't just science fiction spectacle. It represented the logical endpoint of military technology development unchecked by ethical considerations. The Death Star embodies every fear about weapons of mass destruction, revealed Alec Guinness. It's technology that can eliminate not just armies or cities, but entire civilizations and ecosystems with the push of a button. The space station's massive scale was achieved through revolutionary model work and forced perspective that made the actors feel genuinely dwarfed by Imperial technology. When you're looking at these incredible miniatures representing structures the size of small moons, you genuinely feel insignificant, noted Mark Hamill. The Death Star had to feel incomprehensibly vast and powerful to justify the rebellion's desperate tactics. The decision to give the Death Star a fatal weakness wasn't just plot convenience. It represented hope that even the most overwhelming tyrannical power contains the seeds of its own destruction. The exhaust port vulnerability shows that no system is perfect, disclosed Harrison Ford. Human ingenuity and courage can find ways to defeat technological oppression, but only through sacrifice and precise action, rather than brute force confrontation. The lightsaber duels that defined destiny. The lightsaber battles weren't just sword fights. They were spiritual confrontations between different philosophies of power and the visual representation of internal moral struggles. What the cast revealed about choreographing these iconic duels shows how they created combat that served character development rather than mere spectacle. The Obi-Wan versus Vader confrontation represented the collision between past and present, wisdom and corruption. That duel isn't about who's the better fighter, revealed Alec Guinness. It's about Obi-Wan accepting his role as mentor and martyr, while Vader faces his former master and the path he abandoned. The fight became philosophical debate conducted through lightsaber combat. The lightsaber's distinctive sounds and visual effects made them feel mystical rather than purely technological. The humming and crackling sounds suggested these weren't just energy weapons. They were extensions of their wielder's spiritual power, noted Guinness. The ending that launched a mythology. A New Hope's conclusion with the Death Star's destruction and the ceremonial celebration represented triumph while establishing the foundation for an ongoing saga that would explore the consequences of victory and the continuing struggle between good and evil forces. The throne room ceremony wasn't just happy ending. It was George Lucas's homage to classical adventure films while establishing the rebellion's transformation from desperate guerrilla movement to legitimate government. The ceremony represents hope that good can triumph over evil through courage and sacrifice, revealed Mark Hamill. But it also suggests that victory is just the beginning of even greater challenges ahead. The film's subtitle, A New Hope, wasn't added until later releases, but it perfectly captured the story's function as the beginning of a larger mythological cycle. This film establishes the characters and conflicts that will drive the entire saga, noted Carrie Fisher. The ending provides satisfaction while promising greater adventures and deeper revelations about the characters' destinies. The final celebration scene deliberately evoked historical moments of liberation, while suggesting that the struggle for freedom requires constant vigilance and renewed commitment. Victory against the Death Star is just one battle in an ongoing war, disclosed Harrison Ford. The real test will be maintaining hope and unity when facing even greater challenges. Watch the film again with appreciation for its revolutionary special effects, its influence on adventure cinema, and its timeless themes about growing up, finding purpose, and fighting for justice against overwhelming odds. Notice how every element serves the larger story about hope conquering fear and love defeating hate. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into cinema's most influential achievements that changed both entertainment and popular culture. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads, and let us know in the comments which moment from A New Hope still gives you chills. May the Force be with you.